Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY TV interview. I'm joined today by Rudi Steyn. He's the CTO of CoTé. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Alex.
Now, I thought we'd start at the beginning and I just ask you to tell us how CoTé or why CoTé was founded in 2009 and how its offerings have evolved through to the products and services that are available today in 2021.
Yeah, sure. So the founding members of CoTé came from a traditional CCM market space.
Mm-hmm.
They then left that market space and ultimately decided that there was a much better way to do this than the traditional CCM outsourcing model. And then with the emergence of the cloud, essentially that created a much bigger landscape for us. And so we set out to develop a pure cloud-based customer experience automation platform to help customers leverage the cloud and then ultimately delivering to their customers across physical and digital channels, managing this themselves. And so that's ultimately where CoTé started.
And just sort of struck me, do you know what the CoTé stands for? Is it an acronym or what's the
Yes,
origin?
CoTé stands as an acronym for Center of Technology Excellence.
Uh-huh.
And then we've developed a platform called virsaic, which is an acronym for virtual mosaics. And the context around it is that depending on how you put the mosaics together is the type of solution that you get as an outcome.
Okay. So, what does enterprise experience management mean, and how are companies using it to transform the experiences they deliver to themselves, their customers, and their partners?
So at CoTé, we took enterprise experience management and we really broke it out into two segments.
Mm-hmm.
And the first segment being business experience management and the second being customer experience. And so on the business experience management, we focused on getting a platform that enabled business users to manage and track and deliver their own communications through processes like template development, continuous quality assurance, regression testing, managing the change management process with all inside the platform, and then ultimately getting them to deliver their communications and track their communications across physical and digital outcomes. So a lot of the products in the market now are either physically bound or digitally bound. virsaic provides the ability to do both sides of the communications delivery channels. On the customer experience side, by allowing the business to focus on their business experience and getting the right outcome, it really allows them to then send the right message to the customer at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
using the channel of their choice, and then getting their customers to be informed, stay informed, and then ultimately stay engaged with their company and their brand.
Okay, so how long does it typically take for a company to integrate its processes into your platform and to start seeing results?
Well, unlike traditional CCM platforms out there, we've really tried to focus on getting the onboarding process as simple and as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, these onboarding processes take anything from 6 to 12 months before we start seeing an outcome. In virsaic, we can do this between 2 to 3 weeks. And the reason we can do that is because, one, our platform is incredibly flexible, and so it can form and change according to customer requirements,
Mm-hmm.
and then ultimately leveraging the cloud capability that we've built this platform on top of, which means the customers don't have any software to install, they don't have any infrastructure to stand up, and ultimately everything is provided as part of their virsaic subscription, and then they have access to that via a browser.
Yeah, I mean the technology we have today is incredibly mature. I first remember hearing the term software as a service in 2000, but 21 years later, I mean it's the foundation for so much of the world as we know it today. And in fact, if we didn't have software as a service as mature as we have at the moment, the whole COVID situation would be a lot more impactful than than we're currently experiencing.
It's it's actually quite interesting because the uptake of the cloud has been significantly slower than we thought it would
Hmm.
be. So when I started with CoTé almost 9 years ago, we estimated that we had about a 24-month window to deliver this cloud-based platform on, and inevitably it ended up being like 7 years.
Hmm.
And only now people are suddenly realizing that, and it's things like COVID has made this so prominent, is that the power that the cloud can now actually provide you in providing this context of still having the ability to work as a team, but be remotely everywhere. And the way that we've accomplished this is through being a browser-based technology with no additional add-ins, no nothing. So you can actually access our platform from anywhere, from any computer, without having to install anything and still do your job.
Mm-hmm. So, what acquisitions have you made that have accelerated your offerings? I mean, COVID was the digital accelerant for everybody, but the acquisitions, and what do you plan for the future?
So the goal for virsaic was always to have one seamless platform for all your CXA requirements. And so therefore, we didn't really acquire any software. We've been building everything internally in Australia over the last 12 years to get us to where we are today. We do, however, leverage partners. So what we do is that the things that we're not experts in, we go and find a best-of-breed partner that helps us solve that problem, and then we integrate that seamlessly into our platform. So from an end-user experience, they benefit of the experience of the partner, but still have this one platform that solves their existing problems and capabilities. And so that allows us to focus on our core competencies, which is customer experience automation, and that obviously filters down to our customers and allows them to focus on getting the message out to their customers in one seamless manner.
Yeah, I mean, we also live in a world of mature APIs and interoperability. I mean, again, this would have been much more difficult 10, 20 years ago, but today it's seamless.
Oh, absolutely. So and that's where we've been really, really fortunate. We went into the industry. We had a significant amount of partners that we could leverage. Obviously, all of the technology that came with that, and the maturity of all of those partners as well. So that's made our move into the cloud quite significantly easier than it would be, for example, 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you also tell us what other markets you're expanding to?
Sure. So at the moment, we are looking at moving into the US market with our CXA platform, predominantly because it's such a significantly larger market scale. And ultimately, that's where the transaction volumes are. And then we've also started transitioning into more specific applications for specific industry sectors that we're launching in a couple of weeks, which we're super excited about. So, a really good, interesting time for us.
And can you sort of further explain CoTé's expansion into the US? What industries are you focusing on?
Yeah, so we've been recently did some market research on the US market, obviously, as we're entering to the US market, and we realized that there was quite a significant gap in how the insurance agency market the platforms were managing their customers, and predominantly because they had the wrong perspective. So they all come from an insurance perspective rather than from a business perspective. And as CoTé, we always believe that we need to solve the business problem, and technology is an enabler for that. And so what we've done is we've partnered with a couple of insurance agencies in the market in the US, and we've actually leveraged our existing platform and then built a specific pre-packaged application for the insurance agency market in the US, which then allows them to focus on their core business, which is selling policies and servicing customers, and not wasting time on struggling with technology. That's not really fit for purpose. So really taking that business perspective that we've always applied to everything that we've done and moved it into focusing and providing a pre-packaged solution for a specific sector within the US market.
And so did you have customers in the US that sort of approached you and said, hey, we can see this technology in Australia, we'd like to start implementing it? Or is the US expansion and these partners you're working with, is that sort of only more recent?
So pretty much more recent. So we've spent the last 12 years focusing on the Australian market, maturing our product, making sure that we have everything in place for us to be able to expand into the US. So to give you a context, a big customer in Australia is maybe 2 million comms a year. There they do 2 million comms a month with a small insurer. So scale, volume, and maturity is very important before you move into a market like that and get stuck. So we made sure that we did our homework, made sure that our product was matured, and then started moving into the US market. So that's pretty much over the last 12 to 18 months that we've started moving into the US market, made some connections around this various spaces within the US, and then specifically targeting this agency insurance market.
And sort of just a question that's popped into my mind. I mean, often your customers are your best sort of research and development arm, external to the one you have inside. Is there any feature you can think of that a customer said, wow, we'd love to do this, and you guys went, ooh,
Oh,
that's something we haven't thought of, and yeah, let's bring it on?
yeah. Yeah, I think my favorite one was I constantly had customers calling me, asking me, do you have the latest version of the tech spec? So tech spec is a document that gets generated to tell us how to build communications, for example, and what are the rules and where does the data come from and all that type of stuff. And so we sat back as a development team and we created a product called Specify. And so Specify really allows business users to prototype documents like they would do in Word, annotate them, set up the pseudo rules for everything, and then pass that on to the template developer. And the benefit of that is that, one, it's a self-documenting system, so you always have the latest version of any technical specification, so you know exactly how things are implemented. It's got all the dependency tracking associated to it, so it's not 10 disparate Word documents. And ultimately, it became one of our product suites as part of the platform. Predominantly through customers asking us, do you have this? And a lot of the stuff that we've done for the platform has been driven by our customers. So although we do significant amount of market research and analysis in where the market trends are, ultimately your customers are telling you where the trends are. So if your customers are telling you we need this and we want this, and can we have this, and how do we do that? Ultimately, they're the drivers. So with CoTé, we've always been very, very significant in partnering with our customers to allow to get that type of information out and then extensively grow our product suite as we learn more from our customers.
So what is a bit of your own history in the world of tech?
Sure. So, I started out in 1999, which was just before the Y2K disaster or undisaster, depending. It's like non-significant event. And I started off with a small consulting company, building. Those days, there weren't things like solutions and package solutions. So it was all bespoke applications. So built lots of different small apps, then moved on and performed lots of various different roles inside of the IT sector. And lucky enough to have gone through that experience, because what I learned out of that was how not to build software, which I find is most likely the most important bit of everything. So it's always important to know how not to do something rather than to know how to do something. And so 12 years later or 22 years later, I now work for CoTé, and I've been fortunate enough to work for a company that has big ambitions, is very innovative, and I've had a big hand in getting us to realize some of those ambitions.
And one of the questions I always like to ask the people that I'm interviewing is, what is your memory of your first computer all those years ago?
Sure. So my first interaction with the computer was in high school, would be year 8, but writing logo, which was a little turtle on the Apple Macintosh.
I remember
and
that,
with basic commands and drawing stuff on the screen, like forward 20, left 90 degrees and forward 20. And so we can draw a square, for example. And sitting back now, I remember it being a lot harder than it would be today. So.
Well, from the past to the future, how do you see CoTé evolving over the next couple of years, and how do you see the industry evolving through to, say, 2030?
Yeah, so CoTé evolving. So obviously we've got an evergreen platform. We're continuously making changes, bringing on new features. That won't stop in the next 10 years. So we'll keep on growing our capability as we move on. Some of the things that we're trying to look at now is how do we onboard customers significantly faster. So a lot of the market time spent is doing analysis of, what do we need to build, which pieces of content are the same across multiple documents. And so we're looking at things like machine learning to help us do that identification, AI to make smarter decisions based on that, extract that from samples, and then start creating these content libraries and assembling templates automatically through uploading existing communications. And so that will make the onboarding process a lot faster, and then therefore make our product a lot more attractive for the industry. So what does the industry look like in 30 years? Who knows? It's a continuous evolving space. Even if you take a look at what we thought the industry would look like in 5 years, 2 years ago, all of that's changed. It changes on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a half yearly basis. So what I would say is that we'll keep on leveraging our partners to tell us where we need to go and what we need to do as much as we can. We'll keep on continuing investing in R&D in the space, but where it will go, no one knows.
Yeah, well, certainly everything is sped up. I mean, you mentioned before about how it took 6 to 12 months previously to get customers on board, and now you can do it in just 2 or 3 weeks with the new platform. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
that sort of speed and acceleration. I mean, it's just exponential. It's quite incredible.
Yes, and it's all due to smarter technology, better hosting capabilities, flexibility and elasticity of the cloud, so we can stand up things a lot faster, we can grow them a lot faster. So yeah, it's technology has made a significant, or the swing in technology has made a significant difference in the capabilities that we can provide today.
And the scalability. And so one of the sort of the last questions I'd like to ask, or the second last question is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received in life to help you get where you are today?
Yeah, so I suppose the best piece of advice I've ever received would be make it work, make it better, make it faster, and don't get married to your ideas. And the reason I see a lot of projects fail in software is because they don't do step one. How do you make something better? How do you make something faster if you haven't made anything work yet? And so a lot of time is spent on designing the perfect system rather than, let's just build something, let's see how it goes, and then we evolve it as we move along, and making small incremental changes and learning how to fail and fail fast. There's nothing like learning how to fail, but doing it quickly means that you can change tact, change direction, and move on. And that's where the married to your ideas come on. People get married to ideas and they think it should be a certain way, and they'll live with that philosophy, even if it's failing. Where I believe you don't get married to your ideas; they're just ideas, and tomorrow we'll have a new one.
So, what is your final message to ITY viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I would always say to new customers or potential customers is when you when you have a technology problem and you're trying to solve that problem, look for a partner. So look for a technology partner, don't just look for another vendor. And the reason for that is really simple, is a partner is just as invested as you are in success. Yes, so their success and your success is the same success. So they'll be there when things are great, but more importantly, they'll be there when times are not great. And that's the importance or the difference between going with a partner versus going with a vendor. And CoTé, we've have the philosophy to always partner with our customers and make sure they have a successful outcome, because then we have a successful outcome.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, mutual benefits is a winning strategy. So it's good to hear that. Well, Rudi Steyn, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of success with the US and future international expansion, and I hope we can talk again in the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.